Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here with historian Dr. John Robson. John, just before the break, we did talk a little bit about China, but I want to delve into that and frame it in this way. There seems to be some economic headwinds that China is facing now, and they are not as aggressive diplomatically as they were, say, a couple of years ago with the wolf diplomacy and that kind of thing. Do you think that China's internal problems will have an impact on their support for Putin and Russia? Putin promised Xi Jinping that he'd waltz into Ukraine and it would take a few weeks to mop up and then it'd be done. He promised that over 2 years ago, and the battle is still raging. So, what's your take on China these days?
My take on China is I'm still very worried about them. And one reason why, something Edward Luttwak, when he was talking about the Soviet Union, this was decades ago, but he drew a parallel with Germany before the First World War. And he said what made Germany so dangerous was that they were very optimistic about the short term, but they were very pessimistic about the long run. And that's why, when the crisis arose in the summer of 1914, the Kaiser told his war cabinet, it's now or never. And so China does have these economic problems. And I don't know why people are surprised, other than we don't learn the lessons of history. China is a centrally planned economy where property rights are insecure, politics trumps economics, and all the statistics are fake. How you would think this is a recipe for economic dynamism, I have no idea. But the truth is that right now, the Chinese economy is still performing in a way that can sustain a significant military effort. But 5 or 10 years from now, that's much less likely to be true. And the demographics are looking very ugly. And also, of course, Xi Jinping is not a young man. His goal of conquering the world, he better get a move on because he's into his 70s. And so China is liable to be dangerously opportunistic. On the other hand, yes, watching what happened in Ukraine and thinking, gosh, on paper, our army and navy could easily take Taiwan, but wars are not fought on paper. What if it turns out that their resistance is so much stronger and more spirited, and our technology doesn't work all that well? It might be, if we try and invade Taiwan and we don't even get across the strait, that's the end of China as a superpower. Though, of course, they're building up a huge nuclear arsenal now because they really just think that the mandate of heaven says China rules the world, and it's just been a bit odd for the last 2 centuries that the foreigners haven't really been willing to be told what to do, but that will fix that pretty quickly. And this brings me to, because I did read Xi Jinping Thought, as they call it, and because I believe it's important to know your adversary, but when I
Right.
got through it, I thought, is that what that was? It's so turgid. It's so deliberately vague that, anything you do will get you in trouble with the leader. And I thought, this is at a very low intellectual level, but a very high level of belligerence and self-assurance. So again, China is dangerous in part because the people running the place just aren't that smart. And we have to be very careful what kind of impression they get of our willingness to react to their aggression. So far, I think they must be thinking that we're really all talk and very little action.
Yeah, so we've got to show strength and be stronger is your takeaway from that.
Yeah, again, as I say, to beat Russia in Ukraine would be very helpful. But again, I come back to what we were talking about, the first section, the way that Israel has dealt with Hamas and Hezbollah, and even has Iran, I think, very frightened, is also probably having a kind of salutary effect in Beijing of thinking, you know what, the people we thought were strong are weak, and the people we thought were weak are strong. What if there's a pattern there that extends right back into our homeland? They're not good at thinking that way, but there must be at least some unease.
We've got about a minute before the break, but Iran, is it playing ball now? Obviously Israel can bomb Tehran anytime it wants.
Yeah, these people don't play ball, right? The death to Jews is their whole thing, and like Allah will give us victory over these stinking infidels. So they're incapable of rational geopolitical assessments. I mean, Yahya Sinwar, shortly before he died, was telling his colleagues in Hamas, we've got Israel right where we want it. And so I don't think you can count on our kind of rationality out of Tehran at all.
Yeah, it's still a situation, especially with potential nuclear, that it needs to be managed a lot better than in the past. John Robson, we're going to take another brief break. Obviously, we've got still a lot to talk about. I do want to get into America. We're on the cusp of, as when this is recorded, of the U.S. presidential election, but more broadly, the kind of the decline of Pax Americana. So we'll be talking about this after the break. Please stay with us.